Rambles with Rachel, which is my series where I have a conversation with y'all about my interest in K-pop in a podcast-like format. So if any thoughts come up while you listen, please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to talk with y'all about it. So in today's episode, I'm dedicating this to my newfound interest and love, specifically for DPR IAN, but more specifically his album, Dear Insanity, because, oh my goodness, wow. This album has spoken to me in more ways that I can describe. And so with that, I will try and talk a little slower because I have noticed that when I'm really, really excited with y'all, I talk really fast, or if I'm nervous, I talk really fast. So I'm just really excited. So I'm going to make sure that I enunciate and slow down. So a little bit of backstory. One of my best friends and I, we were talking about him. And I was like, wait a minute, who's he? So she was explaining to me like a little bit more about him and had showed me some like reels / TikTok clips. And I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm listening. My eyes are open. But I didn't find that it was the right time for me to like fully commit to listening to his songs yet. Because for me, when I listen to songs or like have new interests, I want to be able to dedicate enough time to like fully enjoy it, fully grasp what I'm listening to, rather than just doing so just to do so. But I did ask my friend for song recommendations, so I did take note of that for later. And that's when I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I did hear a brief part of one of his songs, Don't Go Insane, because of a dance challenge. I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. But once again, still not enough energy, but also it's not the right time for me yet. So I'm gonna like put a pin on it, as that saying goes, and get back to it. So this led me to one day I decided to listen to Don't Go Insane in its full glory. And I was like, wait a damn minute. This song is so good. Where the hell have I been? And so I realized why it had such an impact on me, because I could relate to this song way more than I could have expected, because I was just so used to listening to just that one chorus part that I was like, I'll bite, but I'm not ready yet. So when I listened to it in its full glory, I was just mesmerized. So upon deep diving, while I listened to the entirety of Dear Insanity, it dawned on me, like, this album, this timing, everything was meant for me. And I really enjoy that the universe lately has really done that for me. And I'm like, thank you, universe. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this music that I could enjoy. Because I related to every single song in all aspects. And, you know, sometimes the meanings of the song versus how I interpret it could be drastically different. But I find that to be that's the most beautiful part. And I find things are truly meant to happen for a reason. And there was a reason why this album hit me as hard as it did, but also the timing was just so I could fully enjoy it. Just fully enjoy each song on their own, but also together, like as a unit. And I was like, oh my gosh. So in this episode, I'd like to go over each of the songs in the album and talk about how I relate to them. So it's going to be a mix of interpreting the lyrics, but also a summarization. I don't want to like ramble too much, but I did write a few things for each song so we can kind of go over that together. So I do have a script, so I'm just trying to make sure that I don't lose my place, but I think I already did. So let me get back to it. So it also is interesting because I actually did not listen to this album in the order it's meant, or quote unquote meant to be listened to, because I went really random with it. Clearly because I listened to Don't Go Insane first. But like I said, I think that also makes the experience that much more wonderful, because the way it all connected to me in my brain helped in the order that I listened it to, if that makes any sense. So, as I've mentioned before, it all started with Don't Go Insane. And at first I thought like, wow, you know, this song is really catchy. And I was like, okay, it's just catchy, right? It's not going to mean anything, right? And so when I took the time to like sit down and actually like listened to the lyrics, and I mean like listen, read it, like not emphasize it, like really immerse myself in it. I noticed that there were certain parts in particular where the wording changed. And you're probably like, what do you mean? Well, I didn't realize that he literally says, you know, insane versus the difference of I'm sane. And my mind was blown. I literally had to sit with that for a while and realize like how much of an impact those two different phrases are. Because I just thought he was saying like, don't go insane, like that's the whole thing. But it's actually going back and forth between am I insane or am I a sane person? So I'm like, oh my gosh. So the more I listened to that song, the more I realized there were so many moments in previous, like, quote, friendships that I had, which have since ended, and they made me doubt my abilities, made me doubt my personality, made me doubt, am I actually going insane? Or am I sane? Because sometimes I noticed that these so-called friends would gaslight me, and they would force me to stay. When deep down, I knew this so-called friendship was no longer good for me. But then the cycle happened again and again, and so I'm doubting again, am I insane? Like, no, I am sane. So the lyric that like kind of stood out to me after realizing that was, quote, I was here from the moments the lights showed, unquote. So this for me demonstrates that I had the ability to move forward this whole time, but they dimmed my light. So this led me to forget this like old version of me, and it replaced it with the version they perceived me to be. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because it just like made me question myself again and again. Like, wait, is this the version I want to be? Is this real? Is this not real? Because what's the word? Because I don't think they're gonna ever understand that, like, I'll never be the same from the damage that they caused from the inside out. Because, sure, on one hand, it made me stronger, made me realize what I don't want, but also it was because of them that I was forced to lead myself back to the line. So now we're at the line where it says, the lights turned on and you were just a lie. Which to me means that in reality, they were the ones lying and not me. So they were the ones making me doubt these things, not me, because I followed and realized that the light was in me the whole time. Just like, oh my gosh. I could literally, kid you not, I could go on and on and on about literally just this song alone, Don't Go Insane, because of the impact that song had on me, but I digress. So, this leads me to the next song that I listened to, which was So I Danced. And when I first heard this song, I was like, okay, I like the vibes, but I didn't pay attention. I really didn't pay attention at first to the music video correlation with the album. So since I didn't pay attention to the music video, it led me to not pay attention to the lyrics. I was just like vibing and I was like, I don't want to sing along, but so I danced. So like that's what I did. I just danced and vibed with the song, which for me was the best way to like experience that song at first because I was just dancing and vibing. But when I fully examined the lyrics, y'all, and I like heard them like I did with Don't Go Insane, I was like, oh wait a damn minute. This is exactly how I feel again. How did he do that? How did he know? How come this was the song I found at the right time? What? So, starting with the repeating of hellos, or more like the lack of hellos, this instantly reminded me of how, once again, previous friendships lacked that loss of respect. They just assumed that we were fine, but in reality, everything wasn't fine. So they were just dismissive of my feelings and not taking it into consideration. And it reminds me of how, you make small talk with someone and it's kind of just out of courtesy. It's not because you actually care. Which, yes, of course, it can depend on the relationship with the person or, but having a friendship in particular that once meant so much and now it's just diminished into just a courtesy with empty words. I'm like, so it went there, but you're still thinking it's fine. But it's not. And then if I try and talk about it, then they say it's fine. I'm like, but it's not. It's just, total mess. But, so, the friendship, or friendships, I should say, they once started out rosy and bright, and then suddenly they just became someone I didn't know anymore. So, as the fires begin to draw a little closer, I realized that the shift happened. And I was like, realizing, oh shit, I left the water running at home, which correlates, for me, to something that I always took pride in, for example. So to not forget that. But now I don't even care. So then all of a sudden, if we really examine this so-called friendship, if someone were to ask me how I really feel, I would say, I just danced. And what does that mean? It means I lost all that matters, all that I cared about, because I lost how I truly felt. So, a long time ago, not because of the lack of my efforts, but because of the other party and how they treated me. Because to people who treated me like that, I would notice a big pattern. And unfortunately, it consistently happened with a variety of people. So I was like, oh no, shit, well, here we go again. And I soon realized I don't deserve that type of treatment anymore. Doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter how long I've known you. It doesn't matter if it meant more than I thought it did. I don't deserve that type of treatment. So, another part in that song in particular that also stood out to me was the lyrics, quote, "The roses are flat and flamingos actually turn into pink rats." And so what was once, really sweet, actually was just a lie. It was all just a ploy to get me interested. But then when I took off the rose-colored glasses off for myself and I saw the truth, that led me to the line, quote, "How many knives were in my back?" And so when I turned the tables around, I was like, wow, look at that. Would you look at that? Because I realized, that was supposed to be sweet, but it was actually hidden right in front of me. So now that I see the betrayal, they didn't like that I was turning the tables on them. And I'm not painting myself to be a perfect person, because I am definitely not a perfect person. But this album kind of just really helped me understand my own reflection of things and past quote-unquote friendships that I thought were friendships and they really weren't. So, which leads me into a perfect segue to when I then eventually decided to listen to Violet Crazy, in which this is a way I kind of interpreted, once again, previous friendships as the main theme here. So they were sunny and bright, or so I thought, but actually it was tinted in a way I couldn't even tell. So this, once again, resulted in me continuously questioning my own self in more ways that I can count. So it made me think, wait, am I the problem? Am I the one at fault? And so, of course, as the saying goes, it does take two to tango. But when I saw the mistakes that I made, I would recognize that and I would, have the ability to, apologize for that, or at least try and talk about it to see if it did affect the other person. But I've always noticed throughout several friendships that the other party would not give me the same courtesy. They would lie about it, they would say it's fine, but in reality it's not, and they refuse to talk about it. And I was like, what is the point? Like, why are you going to talk about me behind my back? For what reason? So I was like, you know what? No. So, kind of also deep diving into that song in particular too. Like, Violet Crazy just... that song... oh my god, if I could have it on repeat or like in my head like all the time, I would. Like, I don't know why that song in particular, also just like, wow, chef's kiss. But the lyric, quote, "1,000 reasons for me to turn off your lights." So the more I sat with this particular lyric, it really made me reflect and notice that, there were actually so many red flags that I should have taken notice of, or maybe at least reconsider them. But these are people that I thought I could trust, so I shouldn't think like that, right? Or you would think so, because they're my friends, right? But in reality, I could have easily turned off that light and end it right then and there. But that violet lens keeps blurring my vision. So I think, maybe it's just meant to be this way. Or maybe I'm just meant to endure this and just remember, all the good things, and that no matter how minuscule it was, like, oh, but do you remember this moment and this moment and just all these things? And like, that's just how it's supposed to be, right? But when the silence happens, that was when I realized, this is just a one sided friendship. So it suddenly turned into silence. And they would say, what are you talking about? They're kind of implying that my perspective is strange and that I'm the one who's the problem. But, they would say, like, nothing's changed. But in reality, everything did change. So I stopped trying. They would say, what do you mean? There was no silence between us. And it made me recognize that they could not see the actual disconnect. And once again, doubts of myself and trust issues and all these things. And I just wondered, is it meant to be this difficult? If I've known them for so long, so it has to be this way, right? But when the tiredness finally set in and it hit me, I was like, why can't they let me go? Like, I've already detached myself. Why are they still holding on? Why are they still hurting me this way? Because even when I think I have the ability to let go, they turn off the violet lens again. Or they remind me of the good times and the memories. They make me laugh. They make me forget about it for a moment. And once again, I'm caught in a fairy tale because I'm not realizing that the star that once shined so brightly is actually rapidly falling out of the sky. And I'm just like, I just want to let go. So I did that. I've managed to do that for both of us because what was the reason? Like, why are we still holding on to things that clearly don't matter anymore? It was just a chapter. It doesn't have to be an entire series, So, it was at this time I was literally in such disbelief, and I was thinking, okay, like, there is literally no way it can get any better than this, right? There's gotta be a time when the shoe drops. Like, there's no way. But, alas, I was pleasantly proven wrong eventually because my brain will get there. Anyways, I then decided to, try and listen to other songs such as Bad Cold and some other songs from DPR IAN. But as I said earlier, I was literally so obsessed with Violet Crazy. I just couldn't acknowledge that like anything could beat Violet Crazy. And so by doing so, I didn't realize the impact of Bad Cold. So when I finally sat down and gave it a proper chance, it went from what I thought was my least favorite song from the album to actually being one of the ones I think that actually had the most impact on me, which I know I've said about previous songs, but like Bad Cold, like she's the one. Like, oh my goodness. So this song reminds me of how I've noticed so many patterns time and time again of people giving me the same promise, the same old excuses, and constantly repeating their actions. And yet, what do? I still give them the benefit of the doubt, and I fall for it again. And even to this day, I still never learn. Sometimes I still tend to fall for foolish actions because maybe people change. Some people do, some people unfortunately do not. But I wonder, if they knew how much hurt I could unleash if I didn't give in so easily. But in the end, I realized it's not going to benefit anyone by me doing so. So I either keep it to myself or I cope with it in a healthier manner. Because honestly, it's a lot better than just dismissing it or minimizing my feelings, because now I'm doing exactly what they did to me by minimizing my feelings and being dismissive and all these other things. So, leads me into the lyric that goes, quote, "When the crosswalk is on red light and I realize they're no longer here, but have they ever been here in the first place?" And I was just thinking about how good the friendship was in the beginning. And then when I actually stop and think about it, it was actually just the thought of how it was from the start versus the reality of the situation. So I see people stop reaching out. And it used to be we talked every day, and then it was slowly disappearing, and then it became nothing, and then they tried to make it something again. And I'm just like, why are we still doing this? And so then I start to wonder, like, were they even there to begin with? Were they present? Were they actually there? Like, did anything even matter? And so, this is when I, realized or didn't realize, like, they stopped caring. They said that they would come back, and they never did. And when I realized that the crosswalk turned green, it made me miss the moments they were actually there. Because, there were moments they were actually there. But that time is unfortunately in the past and not the present. So, being actually present and actually willing to take part in the friendship, I missed those moments because that's when I actually fully cared. But they took advantage of my 100%, and when I gave them less, they questioned my actions. So, oh, God forbid I can't dare question their actions because, they're gonna gaslight me or be dismissive again. Or, worst of all, it probably may not even be the worst, like they actually show their true colors. Maybe they never actually cared in the first place. And, they got what they wanted. And now they're just pushing buttons again. Maybe they're just trying to figure out, what can I get again? And I'm like, but why? What was the reason? Why? I couldn't tell you. I'll probably never know. But, that's when I realized, their eyes are running cold. So maybe they see that I'm treating them how they treated me. And, maybe they call me names. Maybe they talk about me behind my back. Maybe they call me the villain. And I'm just, you know what? That's fine. I'm not meant to please everybody. I'm meant to be, I don't know. Like, if you want to paint me the villain, that's okay. I have friends, like true friendships now that I can gladly and confidently say that I can trust. So, but yeah, Bad Cold, highly recommend Bad Cold. It is, wow. I also really enjoyed that the visualizer was like also repetitive. I mean, I don't know if it was just like, sure, we can say that like, oh, there wasn't enough time to film a music video or all these things. But for me specifically, that visualizer was like really impactful because it's continuously repeating and it's just like the cycle keeps going and going and going. So, but anyways, now leads me to Peanut Butter and Tears, which honestly, I wish if I could go back in time, I wish I listened to that song with headphones on for the first time. If you listen to any of these songs, although it's later in the I should have said this in the beginning. If you listen to any of these songs, but especially Peanut Butter and Tears, please listen to it with headphones. I guarantee you, it's just a life-changing experience. Because this song, y'all, it hit me like a truck. I was like, there's no way it just keeps getting better, right? And once again, pleasantly proven wrong. So, like I said, I was shocked. I was just like, what? Because although I like to say I have an open mind, overall I do. But sometimes I can be judgmental in the weirdest ways imaginable because I'm just going to be quite honest with y'all. For y'all listening, y'all can maybe have a little laugh. I don't like peanut butter. So I enjoy eating peanuts, but I don't like peanut butter. And so, why did I avoid listening to this song? Because I don't like peanut butter. That was literally the only reason why I avoided listening to this song. Because for some reason my brain went to like, I don't like peanut butter. I'm like, is this gonna be like artsy, but like not? Or like, is it like, weird? Not like weird, but like silly. But then I'm like, Rachel, you're being silly, just like thinking that's the case. And so, I don't know. I figured that could be a good laugh for anyone who happens to get this far in the episode. But I digress. So, back to the song content. Once again, this song hit me like a truck. I was just vibing with how it sounded for at least maybe like 3 to 4 times because it literally was like the brain chemistry was just like through the roof. before I like actually like listen to the lyrics and realize like I don't know how to explain it, but DPR Ian like somehow managed to describe the entire album in this one song. And like how did he manage to do that? How is that possible? I didn't think it was possible, but apparently it's possible. Which I also wanted to note that I wish that the music video version was actually the studio version, because I noticed that in the music video version, in the beginning, he says, there's a door to the left, there's a door to the right, and there's a door in the middle. And then it leads into the song. And it dawned on me again. I was like, wow, like that's me being pulled in too many directions. Only for me to eventually realize, I can choose the door for myself, whatever that means. All my actions, all my efforts can be for me, not for anyone else. So, some of the lyrics that stood out to me the most was that noticing, friends were noticing my disguise. They noticed that I couldn't mask anymore and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I had to figure that out, like thinking, am I okay? Am I insane? Or am I sane? So when I finally decided to choose the door for myself, I realized, the grass is greener on the other side. Like, it doesn't have to be scary, and maybe it can be, but it's okay to try. So I didn't have to contain myself or, out of fear or judgment. I can just be me. Eventually, I'll find the right people to be around, and it did take me some time, but I realized, I found myself again. I found a new and improved version of myself. Where was I? So, also, another side note, I didn't realize that this music video was not the full song. So I was like, vibing, like listening to it, like, having it on repeat. And I was like, wait a minute. So I ran to Spotify to try and add it to my playlist and saw that there was a big difference in like the music video length to the actual song length. And I was like, are you kidding me? So this song just got even better? Uh, so, where did I? Oh, so now, to present day, as I'm recording this, I think it's a day or two after I'm recording this. No, before I recorded this. Somehow, y'all, I didn't realize I actually missed the first two tracks of the album because I just assumed that I watched everything that was on the YouTubes and or on Spotify. For some reason I didn't check. And so when I was checking the length of the song on Peanut Butter and Tears on Spotify, I noticed there were two songs I didn't add. And I was like, wait, what? So, the audacity of myself, truly, Lamau. But anyways, since I listened to this album unintentionally in a different order anyways, we'll just keep the last two songs that I listened to. Very brief. But let's talk about Welcome to the Other Side. The lyric that stood out to me the most was, quote, "All your walls mean nothing now, and I'm left in the dark." So, all that time and effort I spent to like dedicate to someone else, they didn't appreciate it. They left me alone again. So was the effort even worth it? And it reminds me of a TikTok sound of like, was it worth it to go through all that just to be happy or not happy? I forget the exact wording now, but was it worth it? So Welcome to the Other Side, like really just had me questioning, the walls will be brought back up, but I won't fall this time. Sometimes I have to bring them back up for myself. I'm going to trust my instincts and not repeat the mistakes and learn from the lessons that life gave me, because I really like the saying that, mistakes are only lessons that we've learned, to kind of give it a brighter note. Which then leads me to listening to Famous Last Words with the lyric, quote, "Ventured too far off in our minds. So the dream is now real, but even the nightmares." And for me, it hit me like a truck again because it was especially the nightmares. Once again, I thought it was rose-colored glasses, and all it was just fog, and all it did was cloud my judgment. And I was just like, wow, like how did he manage to do all that? whoa. So honestly, this album, Dear Insanity, consistently gave me so many chills. I was just like, wow, I got to experience like the song and the visuals like after being obsessed and listening to the rest of the album. Like I think that was a more beautiful experience for myself because honestly, I think if I did watch it in order, um, as it like was in the Spotify order, for example, um, I think I would be more confused because I know myself and I like to question a lot of things for my own enjoyment. For example, if I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a show, I ask a lot of rhetorical questions, and I know some people really hate that and some people understand that. Like that's just like I'm not asking for an answer, but I'm asking to ask because that's how I enjoy things. So if I watched that first, I would just be asking more questions than like understanding it. So watching it backwards has more impact on me. But um, there was also a line, um, I'll find a way to come back. I always do. And once again, chills of just being able to find myself again and become stronger and once again learn from past lessons. So, yes, this album, truly top tier. I highly recommend it if you're interested in listening to DPR IAN because I definitely was, and it was a pleasant, very pleasant, just like eye opening experience. But you didn't think we were going to end there, did you? Nope, because there's actually so many songs I want to talk about, but I did want to mention these two in particular because I really like the impact of these songs too. I don't know how to describe it. Like each song has such a different impact on me. Anyways. So, for No Blueberries, um once again was hesitant with the song because once again I judged it when I shouldn't have. So I based it off the music video. And so for myself, I recognize sometimes I need to listen to songs without the music video so I can like grasp the song rather than just being confused by the music video. Because once again, my brain is questioning things. I'm just like, what does that mean? What does this mean? And so I was like, okay, I like the vibes, but I don't think the song is for me. But eventually I was like, no, Rachel, give it another try, kind of do that method and see if, maybe it's a me problem, like a user error, not the song. Um, Once again, I was vibing it with it more without watching the music video. But then unfortunately, I made the mistake of using the captions for this one because for some reason in this particular video, it's not timed correctly. And I was like, okay, never mind. Let me just look up the lyrics because I like to like watch and understand it at the same time. So I kept listening, and once again, are we shocked? I was once again blown away because the more I sat with it, the more I resonated with this song too. And I was like, are you kidding me? How? How? So for me, this song kind of represents not wanting to change for other people, but being peer pressure to do so, and thinking, it's fine, right? Because they're my friends, right? But realizing, you don't have to change for anyone. You don't have to change for family, for friends, people you think you trust. It's just for yourself and how you can benefit from it. So, for example, he talks about like, the person saying like red, green, or blue. So, like, which personality are we going to get today? And so, being able to see, if the other person wants to pick blue, thinking for ourselves, but realizing, maybe I don't want to be blue. Maybe I want to be red. Maybe I want to be green. Um, we don't have to pick the same color to be the same or be agreeing on it. Um, but then feeling lost after because we're wondering, what is the real version of them versus us? Like, what is it? Because, are they deciding to be nice today? Are they deciding to be not nice today? Um, especially hurts when it's, being told by people you thought you could trust the most. So, that's what I had. Some thoughts about no blueberries. Um, and then Limbo. Once again, if I could talk about an entire episode about Limbo, I would. Because same with Don't Go Insane. Don't Go Insane and Limbo, I could go on and on and on. But to keep it brief, as brief as I can, Limbo has been on repeat in my head ever since I discovered the song. Which is funny because as soon as I heard it, I ran to Spotify and then I didn't see it. So then I went back to YouTube And I saw comments saying like, please release it on Spotify. Like, we need it on Spotify. And who would have thought? Once again, timing in the universe saved me once again because it came out on Spotify on the day that I'm typing this, like, or typing the edits for the script. So I was just like, are you kidding me? Because y'all, the entire vibes of just being like, don't go back to them, don't go back to the toxicity, but also not being able to break that cycle. It took me, it took, how do I say? I'm getting excited again. So, to break the cycle, and the lyric, I took you out of my existence, but I come back knowing exactly how much it would take away. Like, it take away from me, my character, my personality. And in particular, I've noticed a lot of like TikToks lately that talk about, sometimes you have to go back until you can't anymore. Sometimes you have to realize that it's not meant for you anymore. And so the song, once again, just such a beautiful experience. I just can't get enough. So I just really wanted to mention it as well. But yeah, so what else? But for the parts, oh, another thing I wanted to mention too, side note, there are parts where it's just like music, for example, and there's no lyrics. But for me, I don't know if it's just me, but I can faintly hear like the line saying like, I don't think like that, or I don't think so. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like people continuously gaslighting me saying, I don't think like that. What are you talking about? So, once again, that part is just something I've noticed. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but it's like eerie but beautiful, but also just like, I don't know how to explain. It's just like chef's kiss, chef's kiss. But now we are at the closing. So I kind of wanted to close it out because once again, there's so many things I've done to edit the script. But on the day I was initially writing majority of this was when DPR IAN had did a post on Instagram, and it had a very specific caption, and I was just like, once again, the universe just always knows, and I'm so glad that I get to trust the universe to kind of lead me here. So I'm gonna read the caption in quotes so I don't mess it up because I don't want to butcher it. So, quote, finally coming back to myself, it feels familiar and foreign as always. I never get used to it, but I still try fighting through it in the hopes that I don't destroy myself time and time. It's painful, but when I resurface and everything comes back, I remember the things that make it worth it. Unquote. And this perfectly describes my consistent healing journey of gaining confidence and learning to be unapologetically myself, but also constantly improve. And sometimes I don't know, what my true self is. Is it on the days I'm truly happy? I wonder, is it going to end? But then I try to remind myself, just to keep going, to keep trying, to, not let other people, bring me down, including myself, because sometimes I'm really hard on myself. But with that, I really do hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I'm really excited to film the next episode because there's more groups I've gotten into recently, so I'm really excited to talk about them. But with that, all the YouTuber things, like, comment, subscribe if you like my content. I really do appreciate it. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!